right, Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shemal Shah, Shem Kwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the Achamat, the pushing the word of sincerity and truth. To Brother Barzal. Yeah, I just want to do a quick lesson before I head into this gig. I got a few minutes about the United States. Which I really just should have just said America, Babylon the Great, or really just kind of quoted, the modern day Babylon the Great. But through the Spirit, we have to identify which these kingdoms is, because I was going to speak about how they're the culprits of evil. And nowadays, the algorithm picks up on everything that you say, and it's looking to delete your videos for certain speeches. But nonetheless, these words have to come out. It's damn near impossible to try to speak in coded language without things being picked up, and you have to identify, the scriptures speak about prophesy against said kingdoms, and nobody will understand what America is but by the breakdowns of the Holy Bible. All right, the whore that sitteth upon many waters. All right, that's talking about America. All right, in today's kingdom, when you go into the prophecies of Daniel about the kingdoms that fell and the little horn that got raised up, that was Great Britain, and America came and sprang through Great Britain. Now, yesterday was 4th of July, which expresses the independence of America. And since America was established, and even pre-establishment of, as we know as America, this landmass that was colonized by these conquerors, these conquistadors, totally vanquished mass majority of the natives here, which are the Israelites that sprang out of the different tribes, the 10 tribes. All right. Now, fast forwarding all the way, through these said times of wars, because they got this date as 1953. So let's deal, post World War One. America started to develop its higher, advancing its capabilities for firepower from the atomic, if I'm not mistaken, to a nuclear bomb. Eventually, of course, they got to the point creating a thermonuclear missile. Good movie to watch is Oppenheimer. And they help enable programs throughout different countries of governments that they had established puppet leaders. And that's exactly what took place with this country, Iran. And eventually there was an overthrow of Iran, and they actually got pretty much a level of pretty much independence. Because this devil, he goes around terrorizing these different nations, and some nations just bend over and keep America in their keep the system within them. Then you have certain nations that doesn't tolerate it, and they'll overthrow the government and the puppet leader and regain their territory. But the point that I want to make is the United States is the key funder of the uranium program that takes place in Iran. So you watch the news, and they're putting this energy out there like Iran is a dangerous nation, which they are to the United States interests. They're a direct threat because they're not under the IMF. They're not under the subjugation, whether it's the financial subjugation or resourceful. They don't have to use United States resources or the influence. They didn't drink the wine, right? They didn't drink the Kool-Aid. They could keep their government established and work eastwards, which America doesn't like. So I just want to read this a little bit. It says the 1953 Iranian coup d'etat, known in Iran as the 28 Mortar coup d'etat, was the overthrow of Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh on August 19th, 1953, led by the Iranian army and supported by the United States. It's a little bit that I can't read because it is. I just had it clicked, but I don't feel like finding this article. But it says strengthening the autocratic rule of the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. A key motive was to protect British oil interests in Iran. After its government refused to concede to Western oil demands, it was instigated by the United States under the TPEX project and the United Kingdom under the Operation Boot. Right, so that was the overthrow. Now, when you look at the United States, if you type in who funded, I have my other phone in my hand, the Iranian enrichment program. Let me see if I can find it. They'll say the United States, they had a program. Yep, the Atoms for Peace. In the 70s, Iran's nuclear ambitions were boosted by the Atoms for Peace program initiated by the U.S. This program aimed to provide nuclear technology to countries for peaceful purposes. Right. So you had these political analysts. Yeah, it was for peaceful purposes, but nonetheless, they initiated it, including Iran. Additionally, Iran invested in Eurodif multinational enrichment facility in France, provided significant funding for its destruction. So they had, after the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the U.S. withdrew support, and Iran's nuclear program faced challenges. However, Iran continued its efforts with assistance from other countries. Yeah, so they, let me see, they actually helped their enemy, which they don't have a thermonuclear missile. They're in a development with one, if I'm not mistaken. It's only certain countries that actually have a missile, and they don't want them to actually possess a missile because they know that they have the capability and they will use it. They already had multiple overthrows, so they're not going, In America, like I said, they're the ones that's actually creating these problems. When you go into these different drug rings and gun trafficking and all these different things, these criminals aren't just falling into this weaponry. They're actually getting it from certain countries. Wars. You have proxy wars, which I like to call third-party wars, which is usually funded by bigger nations, which it is actually funded by bigger nations. That's where you'll see two nations, like Arab nations, fighting each other, and they're both Muslims. But they come from different branches, and they have different financiers, whether it's Russia, China, or the United States. And that's a fact. So all these things, all this wickedness that's being propagated and is taking place all over the world is coming to a head. And that's all through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shema Shah, because this devil's wickedness is coming to light. So I'm going to get this and I'm going to close, because I got to go into this job. Psalms 7:15. He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. Yeah, so this devil played deceitful cards, and he's getting caught up in the same frenzy. All right. Verse 16, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come upon him his own pay. So with that, I'm going to end by giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, by Shema Shah, by Shema Kakodash, the bonus to the apostle of this great millstone. Shalom, Maki.